Okay, guys, are you ready for another digital classroom? We're going to check if we're live everywhere. So if we're live on Facebook and live on YouTube. I already see us on YouTube and probably Facebook already. Anouk, are we ready on Facebook? So we're going to check Facebook. There we go. So we changed some stuff, and we should have no audio delays now, because the problem was with the previous setup that we had a lot of audio delay. So we actually changed that over, and that should be okay now. Can you connect that to my camera, please? Okay, so welcome to another episode of Digital Classroom, and we see already guys like watching, and hey Frank, hey Marloes, Vee. I guess that's Dutch. So, if you followed the vlog and if you followed me online, you know that I actually lost my voice because of an airway infection. Now that hurts like you know what. And that also means that for the next 3 weeks I will probably be a little bit more on the sexy side of my voice. It also means that my mom always told me to never speak with your mouth full. And I actually have to have some candy in me at the moment, so otherwise I will probably cough and cough. You know, like the 3 little piglets and the big bad wolf. So we don't want that, of course. So that's why I'm actually having some candy. Now, what is Digital Classroom? Digital Classroom is an interactive show with you guys. It's not really a show. It's more like we're going to do a photo shoot and you guys can interact. How can you guys interact? Very, very simple. You can leave comments in our chat room. And it can, of course, be comments in a YouTube chat room, but also in our Facebook live group. So we are simulcasting on both. We also record this on our hard drive, and of course later on you can watch it back on YouTube. If you are not on YouTube, by the way, yet on our followers, make sure that you subscribe. So if you're watching this on Facebook Live, YouTube/Frank Doorhof, make sure that you subscribe, because that way you actually make this possible. Okay, so I guess everything is working now. And I think you got it, and time is me. Yeah, Marloes, I think I got it from the trade shows. It's not my fault. I'm so very sorry if you're also sick. So we're going to start Digital Classroom today. And today we have our model Puka. But before we start, we of course have to have our bumper. And what is a bumper? Well, I'm going to show you now. If I can find it. Because we changed everything around. But there we have our bumper. So are you ready? Here comes the bumper. Wasn't that an awesome bumper? Somebody created this for me, by the way, on Twitter. So they saw the old bumper and they were going like, I can do that better. He actually also created the old bumper, I believe, but he can do better. So he got this new one in, and I'm really happy with it. Now, the other 2 brands you saw were BenQ and Rogue. Now, without them, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you so very much, guys. It's awesome that you support our work. But most of all, it's important that you guys support our work. And that's where we're very, very grateful for. Because thanks to your comments, your shares, your views, we actually can build this channel. So I don't want to talk too much. So let's just get into the show. Now, a lot of people ask me, like, Frank, can you show the difference between modifiers? So normally we do a photo shoot or we do something special. And this time, actually, somebody asked me, like, can you show the difference between modifiers? I was going like, sure, I can show the difference between modifiers. So we decided to do it slightly different now. So we have set up a scene, and that actually involves a beauty dish. And a beauty dish with a deflector. And we're going to change that over for a beauty dish with a grid. So I'm going to show you both, and I'm also going to show you how you can play with those both to get a totally different look. Let's first see if we have any questions. Hola, Frank. Hola. Love the new bumper. Me too. And hey, Frank, I have nothing to do this afternoon, so it means I'm going to watch Digital Classroom live for the first time. Your voice is sounding better than earlier this week. Oh, thank you so very much. Hey, Steve, how are you? I believe Steve is from the US. I don't know for sure, but he's up early. Depending on the time zone, of course. Okay, just bought the BenQ monitor. Awesome. You're gonna love it. Okay, So let's start, and we're gonna switch cameras over, and then I'm gonna give the cameras to Daisy and Week. So if something goes wrong, it's their fault. If I look bad, it's their fault. It's never my fault. It's always their fault. So this is me, and we're gonna now switch over to them. So let me see. And there we have the setup. And I'm gonna give you a nicer view of the setup. And that was my son in the picture. Okay, let's walk. And let's go to our main setup for now. I'm gonna lower my voice, by the way, a little bit, because I see there's a lot of power coming off. There we go, that's better. Okay, we still have power on the laptop, yes. Okay, so let me stand here. This is where my red tape is on the floor. Because we actually expected it to do this solo, only Anouk and me. Because our intern Kim actually got sick. But thanks to these great people, Daisy and Brian, both skipped school to help us out with the cameras. Isn't it awesome? Oh, sorry, Brian, are you now in trouble? No? Okay, great. Okay, so the first thing. This is a beauty dish. And beauty dishes are awesome. They're called beauty dishes because they're beautiful. Probably. Now, they're called beauty dishes because they are used a lot for beauty shots. Now, why beauty shots? For the very simple reason, it gives you a very nice quality of light. It's not the biggest beauty dish. You have beauty dishes that are a lot bigger, but somehow I always think like, you know what, then you can go for a deep octa. That is better. But this beauty dish is actually a silver one, so it gives you more of an edge. The cool thing about beauty dishes is that if you take this out, you actually just have a bare strobe going straight on your model, which can be okay, but it defies the purpose of this beautiful beauty dish. So this is a deflector. Now this one is from Alengrom, and this is actually a silver one. And you know probably already, I love that little bit of harsh quality in lighting. So you just put it in like this, just press it through, and there you go. Now what happens is that the light from the strobe hits the deflector and then hits the beauty dish and gets that nice, real spread out. Another thing you can do with a beauty dish that's really cool, it's a very soothing effect. It's really cool. Okay, Puka, can you come in the frame, please? And again, guys, sorry for the coughing. We didn't want to cancel, but I should. A little bit more that way. Awesome. Okay, let's turn the light on. Let's start out with a really simple straight-on shot. Now, this is a straight-on shot because it's just aimed at about 45-degree angle down on the model. And let's turn it up a little bit. This is like the most boring shot you can take. It's almost on-camera flash. It's not really on camera, but it's like almost on because I'm going to sit here, going to aim up, and I'm just going to shoot the model. So, yeah. So let's see what we can do. First thing, of course, is I have to get my light meter. Because we want to make sure that we get a proper meter reading. Yeah, that's the one. Oh, and by the way, we got the new Psychonic. The 858. This is a really cool meter because it has a touch display. Isn't it great? I have to say less awesome. Okay, the cool thing about this one is that you actually can trigger your strobes. So I can just move here. And there we go. Now, there's one thing you have to understand about light meters, and I tell this every time. You now see 11.7. That means I'm on f11 and 7/10 of an f-stop. Now, with the old light meters, you had to reach over here and turn down your strobes. This one, I'm going to show you close up. This one is really cool. You just press here. And I want to go down 7. So I'm just, is it in the frame? Just going to down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Wait for the beep. And I'm done. So now I'm on f11. But never trust electronics. It's okay. But it's not perfect. Okay, so f11. Why F11? Sounds nice for today. Okay, let's take the shot. So I'm using the Sony A7R II, which is an awesome camera, great camera. I'm going to go to ISO 100. Now, if you look at the vlog for tonight, behind closed doors, you see why I was on ISO 200. And let's go to F11. Okay, cool. Just look straight ahead. Don't do anything fancy yet. And there we go. So first shot, a really simple, straight on, almost like a beauty shot. And you look at the shot and you go like, yeah, that's nice. It's interesting. I like the bend. She already removed it. Let's try it again. Move it a little bit up. Okay. Nice. You can see this really pops. It's a light that really makes your images pop. Absolutely love it. Ooh, that's cool. Like a Betty Boop. Boop, boop, beep, boop. There we go. So this is really nice. But on the other hand, it's flat. And the colors aren't right. So what I have to do is I have to make sure that the colors are correct. What do we do for that? Let me hear. A color checker. You guys are awesome. Okay, so this is not the new MacBook Pro. It's just an Apple logo. You know why we have an Apple logo on there? Because the studio is dark and I always lost my color checkers. So now with the Apple logo, I can actually see them. But if you followed my vlog and blog, I actually have to change this very soon over for a Windows logo, I'm afraid. Oei. Okay. Make sure it's as flat as possible and she doesn't touch it with her fingers. Okay, make a funny face, otherwise the software won't work. Awesome. They still fall for that one. Okay, so this is the most important shot of the day because this is how we make sure that there's no color cast in Capture One and the colors are actually correct in Lightroom. Now in Lightroom we can create a color profile. In Capture One that doesn't work, but we use it as glorified gray card, let's call it that way. Now why do I still shoot the color checker if I can't use it in Capture One? There's a very simple reason for this. If for one reason or another I really want to create a color profile later on, I still have to shut off the color checker. So I always shoot the color checker even if I don't use it. Sorry guys. So even if I don't use it, I still shoot the color checker. Now maybe in the future Capture One will support the color checker or there's another solution. I still have that shot. So Daisy, thank you so very much. Okay, so we take one or two more shots. That's cool. Absolutely awesome. Now, because it's an ELC, let's make her a little bit crazy. Okay, are you ready? Every second there will be like 5 or 6 shots. There we go. That's so cool. Okay, Anouk has a question. Turn on your mic. No. Oh, you don't have a question?
No question.
Oh, you put your. Do you have to go to the restroom? Okay, so sometimes it misses a shot, but that's more of the radio, and it's not because the strobe can't keep up. Because we tried it with, I believe, 12 frames a second, and it still kept up. Now, why do I shoot so many frames? This is way too much. But sometimes it helps, and the Sony has this option where you actually can go from high to low. So you go to 2-3 frames a second. And it really helps the model to pose a little bit easier, to get that flow going. Because if you get that flow going, you get better images. Don't you agree? I do too. Okay, but you guys wanted to see the difference between the deflector and the grid. So let's change that over. So I'm going to take out the deflector and I'm going to put in the grid. Brian, can you hand me the grid? It's over there. This one? Yep. This is a grid. So this is a grid. The cool thing about a grid is it steers light. So let me put it this way. Now you can see me, which some people prefer. And now you can't, which Anouk probably prefers. So you see me, and now you don't. And this is what all these little holes make sure of. Now, if you want to make sure that your model is in the hotspot, always ask her, can you see through the grid? Because if she can see through the grid, you know she's in the hotspot because she looks straight into the light. That saves you a lot of time on location. If you have to meter everything out. Okay, let me see. Okay. Turn the screws. It's a really easy system. Never falls off, of course, unless you do it live. Ah, just kidding. Okay, so it's pretty tight now. Okay, Puka, can you look straight through the grid?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Stand against the wall. Can you still look straight through the grid?
No.
You see what she did? Yeah, I can look through the grid, but as soon as she starts to pose, she will pull back. So make sure. This is better?
Yeah.
Yeah? Sure?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. You see what she did? She looks as if it's worse or better. So now she knows she's in the grid, in the hotspot. By the way, one thing. I'm not going to tell that while the model hears me. You know what I just did? I also learned my model how to pose. Because normally if you don't tell a model this, the model will do this. Yeah, look at me posing, look at me posing, look at me posing. What I now actually learned her, oh, shut up. What I actually learned her is that she now has to pose like this. Yeah, because now she knows I have to be focused on that grid. And if she looks into that grid, my life gets so much easier because I don't come home with, oh, I have these awesome shots. And then you come home and you go like, why is the model always out of the frame, in the frame, out? It's because you didn't tell her to look through the grid and you were too enthusiastic shooting. Okay, let's grab the meter again. Okay. Let's meter. Now some people would say, do you really need to remeter? If you are smart, yes. But if you are correct, that's only 1/10 of an f-stop left. Less. And that means, because the light didn't change any distance, she's still in front of the light. So you get the full light quality on your model. But don't believe it, always remeter. That's way smarter. It's also why I remetered. Okay. Oh, and by accident set it on 10 seconds. Let's not do that. Okay, F11. Now look at the difference between what we just did and what we do now. So before we had probably a lot more light, as you can see here. So now we have way more of a focused light beam, which I personally prefer a lot. Especially when you zoom out a little bit more. You can really see that vignetting. That's awesome. Oh, you rock, girl. Nice. Now, it's very difficult to take a bad picture from Puka. I tried, but somehow I can't. Nah, awesome. Okay, so problems. Composition. I see a lot of people during workshops and also online, and even my own interns and Anouk make the same mistake. And what is that mistake? Probably you recognize it as soon as I show you. A lot of people do this with video and photography. Now, as you can see, I placed the model in the middle of the frame. That might sound logical because she's the center of attention, right? you also lose a lot of pixels on top. You can, of course, say, oh, I cropped that in Photoshop. Some compositions you can't change in Photoshop. So make sure you do it right at the moment that you shoot it. So what you have to do is I focus on the eyes, I recompose, and I take the shot. That's so nice. Nice. Now with the Sony, I actually have a really cool option, and that's called eye focus. Now, it's not patented by Apple, eye focus. What it literally does is, if I just have eyes in the frame somewhere, and I press the OK button, it doesn't matter how I hold my composition, the camera will find the eyes. So let's say I'm just moving it all the way to the side of the frame, press the shutter, press the OK button, sorry, and then it will focus on the eyes. So that makes it way faster, for example, on the street. Anyway, there's a question.
Yes. Is it possible to photograph from the other side of the pole? Because the pole is in the frame all the time.
Is the pole in the frame?
Yeah. And the other question is from our good friend Johan. Question, there's one stop less light, but how about contrast? How does the grid influence that?
There's 1/10 of a stop less light. But there's no... the contrast difference is between dark and white. So the contrast of a grid makes it a little bit more contrasty because there's more light fall. There's not more light fall off because the distance is the same. Let me put it this way, there's more vignetting. But also on the face you get it a little bit more harsh because you take the deflector out. So in contrast it looks more contrasty. But in essence, if you meter it, the whites will still be white. And the light fall off is the same because the distance is the same. But because you're using a different modifier, you get a more contrasty image. So if I put a softbox there on the same distance, it appears less contrasty because it's flatter light. This is really harsh quality of light. The only thing is I didn't get is why did they see the pole in, because I really don't see it in.
No, it's not in the picture. It's Brian's camera.
Oh. Okay, sorry. So I have to stand on the other side of the pole. Yes, okay. That's clear. Okay. So composition-wise, always make sure that you are in the edges of your frame. In this case, I am on the edges of the frame because I really love that she has those ears. Now, if I would be shooting a portrait, I would be way closer and I would actually be doing this. Nice. That's awesome. Cool. Okay, let's go to the computer and we're going to go through some of these images and actually show you what we can do with them. Are there any more questions, Annemiek, in between?
Yes.
Okay, so I will answer the questions first. Okay, we're going to switch to my camera. So one moment, guys. That's camera 4. And there we are. This is my camera. Let me see, there are some questions. No images, so sorry.
I forgot to...
Oh.
I did later.
Okay, later on you did. Okay, let me see. Don't see images in small screen. Okay, later on they changed that. Do you always take the deflector out if you use the grid? Yes, you have to take the deflector out if you use the grid, because if you leave it in, it will actually destroy the grid. Because the deflector actually extends a little bit, so if you put the grid in, it will actually destroy it. If you have another brand, there are brands out there, I believe Photo, where you can leave the deflector in and put the grid on top. I would prefer that, but with this system, the Ellengrom system, they chose differently, so it doesn't matter that much. But in some systems, you can leave the deflector in. Okay, Paul. Let me see. Oh, this is Mark. Your light meter gave f8 when metering after putting in the grid. So why are you shooting on f11? Actually, Mark, it didn't say f8. It said f8.9. And that means it's 1/10 of an f-stop from f11. Now if you look back, you see me actually changing 1/10 of an f-stop up. So at that point I was on f11. This is the most heard mistake about light meters. People will go into a store, buy a light meter, and they don't know how it works. So they will come home, and in essence, it's always overexposing for people. So people don't trust it anymore. What in essence happens, people see the f8, so they will shoot on f8, and they forget the number that's behind it. Now you have to remember that the light meter works on 1/10 of an f-stop, your camera works on thirds of an f-stop. So it means if you see f8, this is 0.0, that's f8. If you see f8.3, that's one click up from your camera f8, so that's actually f9. If you see 8.6, that's f10. If you see 8.9, that's approximately f11. So you have to go to your strobe at 1/10 of an f-stop and you're there. Okay, let's go through some of the images. I'm going to tell you now, because we got a lot of questions like, why do you trash an image? So I'm going to show you now exactly why I choose an image and why I trash one. So let's switch to my computer. There we go. I'm so sorry for the coughing, guys, but they actually told me to cancel, but you know me. I don't want to leave you guys hanging. Okay. First shot. The first thing I always do is check focus. Now, as you can see here, Capture One is blazingly fast with choosing focus. But there's even a faster way, and that's if you go to View, Show Focus Mask. Everything that's green has high contrast, so that means that there's a probable chance that it's in focus. Now in my case, let's just hide this because I want to see the pictures. Okay, now everything that's good, I will not delete. This image, I don't really like the way she's looking. I don't like the way that she's holding her mouth, so this one will go. This one I love, and it's razor sharp. So we're gonna give this one 5 stars. No, don't like this one, and I'm not liking it because I don't like the cut over here. It's a little bit too harsh, and the pose is okay, but you know, we have better. Now here I like it more, because you can still see a little bit of the hand. No, it's okay. This one I really like. And this also fits the... let me turn that camera with you so you can see what I'm telling you. Okay, so I like this because it actually... Let me do the vlog way, the Casey Neistat way. There we go, just pick up a camera and change perspective. There we go, easy as peasy. Or easy peasy, what they say. Okay, so... Oh, by the way, the discussion online... Mark, indeed, it was f8.9. So everybody that tells you now it was f8.9, they're absolutely right. It was f8.9. Okay, so I like the pose like this. It gives it a little bit more of an oop-de-doo. Marilyn Monroe, Jessica Rabbit, all that kind of stuff. A little bit more playful. This shot I like. I like the way that it's like a circle. What I don't like about it is actually the eye over here. It's covered up just a little bit too much. Not gonna delete it. Most important shot, gonna show you in a moment why. Give it 5 stars. And this is where I saw that marketing fuel. Oh, let me just turn off my email. Oh. Never mind. Okay, so what you now see is that I actually zoom in and I look at my pictures, but this one I don't like because I have all this space on top, so don't. I like this one, not good enough. This one is okay, but I think the other one is better, so I'm still gonna select it. Okay, like this one. This one is pretty cool. No, too much. They look pretty similar. I'm gonna delete those. Oh, this was probably from the series because they look alike a lot. No, no, this is better. This is even better. You see the slight difference? So I like this one. This one is even better. This one is even better. Better. Now this is when we change the grid. Do you see the difference? You really get that nice vignetting around your model. Love this one. Now she's looking away. Here the same thing. I like a little bit more eye contact with this outfit. Really like this one. It's okay. No. This is okay. This is nice. Look at the difference. This is a little bit too much like ooh. And this is a little bit more like naughty. A little bit more, I don't know what to say. A little bit more sensual, I think. I really like this shot. This is okay. This is where I explained the composition. So let's remove those. This is nice. I like the way that her hands really make like a triangle here. So that's cool. Very nice. Nice. But not nice enough. Okay. This one I don't like. This one is really cool. I think we're almost there. Really like this one. The reason I like this one is because he's looking a little bit up and you get that really nice perspective distortion. I think this one is out of focus. Yep. This, by the way, I love Adobe Lightroom, but this is one of the reasons I absolutely adore Capture One. You can zoom in so incredibly fast. I don't know what's going on there, but I missed focus. Oh, this is very, very nice. I'm going to retouch this in a moment to show you guys how you actually can put hair back. So, okay. This one is cool. This one is better. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually sort on rating. So, and I have way too much images because I'm a big fan of just retouching 1 or 2 images of a set. Because if you have 1 or 2 great images, that's a lot better than having 6 images with 1 or 2 that are okay, 1 and 2 that are great, and then the rest is going like, yeah, I don't know. And the whole session will actually go like down. So make sure that you only get 1 that's absolutely kick-ass, and then that's the image you're going to retouch. And all the other ones, if they're okay, just let them be okay. Just move them away. Okay, let me see if we have any more questions, by the way, in between. Okay. Oops. Actually doing something completely wrong now. There we go. Okay. Okay, first shot is okay. Second one I like better. And they look pretty similar, so this one goes 0. I don't delete it, 0, because I want to keep the image. This one is important. Now, between those two, I actually like the first one best, so 0. No. And you know why? Now that I look at it, Puka's face has a certain look, and here it's more like an egg shape. And that's not how her face looks. This looks like a different model. So I'm not going to retouch that one. This one is okay, but I don't think it's great. This one I really, really dig. This one I love. This one is, I think even, yeah, it's better than this one. So let's take that one out. This one is not better than the other ones. This one I love. This one is cool. But that one I like better. Although, no, this one is worse. And now why? Because I already have one that looks similar to the other one. So that's why I keep them like this. And I still have way too much images. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images. And I want to narrow it down to about 3. So now when I look at those two, I actually prefer that one. But I promised you guys I would retouch this one for the hair. So I'm going to retouch them both, but not during the live broadcast. I love this one. And I love that one. So that one can go. Or not. Yeah, that one will go. Okay, let's go to this one with the hair. Now, the hair is always a problem because hair is terrible to retouch. But I'm going to give you some tips and pointers which might or may not help you out. The first thing I have to do is get it into Photoshop. So we have here a recipe in Capture One. Now normally with Lightroom you just press Command or Option, depending on PC or Mac, going E. So Command E to go into Photoshop. With Capture One it's actually Command D. And that's because I now have this recipe active. Now what is the recipe? TIFF 16 bits, uncompressed Adobe RGB, and open up Photoshop. So let's just run the recipe. And it should open up Photoshop. I'm going to switch back to camera full screen so you can see what we're doing. And now I'm gone. So, okay, question from Johan. If I should have shot this full body light in light, what would you have used for a fill-in of the light? For fill-in of the lights, I always use a very big softbox. So like a 1.5 meter softbox, and I just place it far away from my model just to give it a little bit of an edge of filling light. Okay, and let me see, I have to change something over, guys, sorry for this. I will explain to you guys in a moment what's going on at the moment. It's actually nothing spectacular, but I have to change this. Let me grab the camera and show you. Now normally I do all my retouching. Oh, let me change back to the camera. There we go. Normally I do all my retouching on the Cintiq, as you can see here. And I use the BenQ, and this is actually the 32 inch, the new one, which is absolutely stunning. And I use the BenQ 32 inch for color correction. So I retouch on the Cintiq. So this is where I normally have Photoshop open. And on the top, I actually have Navigator open. So this is what you see here is Navigator from Photoshop. And I open that on that monitor. And the reason is very simple. If I retouch, I absolutely trust my Cintiq for the stuff like detail and all the other stuff. Let me change that camera very quickly. So I absolutely trust the Cintiq for that. Color-wise and detail in shadows, the BenQ is way better. So, but the BenQ is a monitor aimed at professional professional video and photo editing. So it's, of course, it's better. So what I do is, because I don't want to have two mirrors open, what I actually do is I will open up Navigator in Photoshop and drag Navigator to my second monitor, in that case the BenQ. Now why am I not retouching on the Cintiq at the moment is in Wirecast. Somehow I have 3 monitors set up and I can't get Wirecast to go to the second monitor, like in this case the Cintiq, because it gives me a weird resolution and it cuts everything off. So if somebody online is watching and knows a solution for this, I somehow seem to be only able to mirror my 4K monitor, which is absolutely weird, but okay. So, okay, let me switch back to the monitor again so you guys can see what we're doing. Okay. Let me see if there are any questions. No, Annemiek, do you have any questions on Facebook?
No.
Okay, I'm going to grab myself very quickly a slight drink. And then we're going to do the retouching. Okay, so the problem we have with this shot is actually the hair. So let's fix that first. What you always have to remember is that hair is incredibly difficult, because hair, you can see repeating patterns in very, very quickly. And you don't want repeating patterns because that shows that you can't retouch. So the first thing I have to do is make sure that I'm at 100%. So I'm going to zoom in. There we go. And I have to close this gap. Now, there are many ways to do this. The first one we're going to try is the lasso tool. Just going to select this. And we're just going to press delete. Now, what delete does is it will actually give me the content-aware fill. And press OK. Let me see what happens. It's not so bad. Looks pretty good. No, it's not perfect. So let's go back. So that was step 1. Okay, the other thing is you don't need to use the lasso tool. You can also use here the quick selection tool. So you take your brush and you just paint in your mask. So you can do it with the selection, or you can do it with quick mask. There we go. Make sure you do this, otherwise you only are left with the gap. So do an inverse and delete. So you're still going to use content aware fill. Okay, better, still not perfect. Okay. So let's do it manually. You can of course choose to clone. Now one of the things that you should always do is actually make sure that when you clone, you do it on an empty layer. Don't just duplicate the layer, but make sure you have an empty layer. And the empty layer is very simple to do. Layer new. Come on. And just choose an empty layer. Everything pops up on my second screen. There we go. Now when I clone, I have to make sure that I clone at 100% and that I actually sample all layers. So now when I'm on this empty layer, I can just work like you normally would work by selecting, copying, and cloning. And there we go. Make it a little bit less obvious. Awesome. The cool thing is I only did this. Now if you're on a laptop and you don't have a lot of power, or in other words CPU power, this is actually a lifesaver, because now if you look here, I hope you can see it, my file size didn't double. Now if I would create a duplicate layer like this, my file size would go from 256 to 465. If I take this one out, my file size goes from 256 to 238. So it's only 10 megabytes more. And especially on slower computers, this really saves you time. Okay, so cloning. It looks okay, but it's not good. Okay, so let's remove that one. Okay, so how do we close that gap? Okay, take the lasso tool, select, let's say the blue, go all the way down. Make sure you get a nice beefy piece. There you go. Edit, cut, or sorry, copy, and edit paste. Now it's on a new layer. Now what you do is you move it into the hole, and you have a repeating pattern, which is absolutely bad because you don't want that. But we're not there yet. Edit, transform, and you do distort. Now what you're going to do is you're going to play with this. And this is a little bit Bob Rossi, if you know what I mean. You just have to go with it. There's not really a way to tell you otherwise, but you have to make sure that it's like you just play a little bit like, okay, that hair should be there because it's happy. And that hair should be there because it's happy. You know, that kind of stuff. If people see you retouching, they think you're a retard, but that's okay. There you go. So there we go. And now because I changed the whole look of it, so this is the original, you see that it looks better. So what I'm now going to do is I'm actually going to do a layer mask. And a layer mask, hide all. So remove everything. I'm going to take my brush, make it nice and big. And the only thing I'm going to do is I'm literally going to paint it in the areas where I think the gap is. And there you go. And now it looks way better. The only thing is you have this little area here that looks a little bit repeated. There you go. Pull it all the way up. And now because this is too bright, what you do is you change to black. You change your opacity down to, let's say, 24%. And you just slowly massage the color problems away. And you just do this and you just fill it up. And there you go. So now you have a way more natural looking hair reconstruction. And let me show you before and after. And you see that there's hardly any repeated patterns because we actually distorted that piece of hair, so it looks different. Now, when I'm totally honest, I can still see that there's a little bit here. So let's go to 200%, view 200%. Take your healing brush and very quickly just take some of those stray hairs out. Okay, and we have a question from Facebook.
No, it's from YouTube.
Oh, from YouTube. Okay, that's one I'm going to answer. What's the difference between distort and warp? I never use warp, to be honest. I always use distort. So, no idea. By the way, I'm not a Photoshop expert, so I just do what I do. And that's what I can answer you. So the warp filter, I know Glyn uses it a lot for making stuff fit. But I always use distort. Okay, just fill it up just a little bit here. And don't overdo it. You see, I'm actually doing more harm. I find this little cap a little bit annoying. There we go. Good enough for now. Go to 100%. It's a 42 megapixel image. Nobody will see the difference. Okay, nice. Now let's do the skin. For the skin, I'm very, very simple. You can do dodge and burn. You can spend hours on it. Please, guys, just buy one filter. It's called Imagenomic Portraiture. And if you don't have money for Imagenomic Portraiture, get Topaz Clean. Now, on my website, there are actually discount codes. Now, what is my website? My website is actually this. Now, if you go to that website, there's actually a page called Discounts. And you can get a lot of copies of, you can get a lot of discounts for example, Alien Skin, Topaz, and DxO, and whatever. So make sure you check it out. Okay. So the skin. Now, Imagenomic Portraiture is absolutely awesome for skin, because that's what it does. And you can almost leave it the way that it is out of the box. And that already does a great job, as you can see here, before and after. I hope that translates to YouTube. Very nice. Okay, just press the plus and add some extra stuff here. Nice. Okay, now because it's everywhere, it tells you it's not, but look at this. If you go to the background, you can actually see that it's also in the stone. So it tells you it only does skin, but that's impossible. It takes skin tones. So what I'm going to do is, at the moment, I'm going to run the filter. And what you immediately will see is that it's on a different layer. Okay, so I have one layer with the filter and one without. So what I'm now going to do is layer, layer, mask, hide all, just hide it. Take a brush with white paint, make sure you're back on 100%. Open up your brush and just do it very, very rough. There we go. So now I'm sure I hit everything from my model, but I also hit some of the background. And this tip actually was given by Ineke to me. I know Ineke is watching, so I can't tell her that I invented this. Use the backslash, and you can exactly see where you painted. So go back to white, and now you can zoom into 100%, but I'm not going to do that. Oh, sorry, go back to black, of course. Sorry. Now you can very easily see where you were a little bit rough around the edges. And this isn't that important because it's black, it's not a skin tone. But over here, it can be a little bit more important. Because this is actually the wall. Okay, go back, color-wise, and make sure you do this. And there we go. Press the backspace again, and zoom into 100% and check your work. It looks great. Now, this is my thing. I always flatten my image. Now I take my healing brush and I will take out the final pieces that I don't like. And there you go. Now, of course, we want to make the background pop a little bit more. Now, let me switch over to the camera very quickly because now I have a confession to make. Not really a confession. Don't think it's not bad. So if you look at my screen, I'm actually on a PC. Scary, right? PCs, Windows. Ooh. It's okay. And at the Mac, I always use the Mac Fun Intensify, which I absolutely loved. It's a great software package. And I can already tell you a secret. And the secret is Mac Fun is also coming to PC. They should, because a lot of the people that are poster boys for them are actually changing to the PC. So very soon, I believe Luminar is going to be released, and that's actually all their filters into one. I absolutely love Luminar, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I had to find something else. Now, there are two options that are equally but not as good as Intensify from Mac Fun, and that's actually Topaz Detail. Topaz Simplify does it a little bit, and Nik Tonal Contrast. So I'm going to do this image with Nik Tonal Contrast just to show you guys what you can do with a free software package, because Nik still is free. Which I think, by the way, is a bad thing. Let me see, somebody else is asking. Okay. Johan, Perfectly Clear has just brought out version 3 of their software. Would you use or consider using that plugin? No. I love Perfectly Clear. I tried it a few times, but somehow image normal portraiture is just way, way faster. So I'm actually loving image normal portraiture just a little bit more. I tried it, and Perfectly Clear is great for when you start out. But for me, I actually love image nomic. Okay, let's go here, Color Effects 4, Tonal Contrast. Now what I do with tonal contrast is I will just give it a hinge of sharpness. It's not really sharpness, it's more like a contrast boost. So here you see before and after. So let me turn down the midtones just a little bit. And saturation down just a little bit. Don't want too much saturation in there. Saturation up. Give a little bit of bump to the shadows. There we go. Don't overdo this. A lot of people go like, ooh, everything can go to 100%. Let's go to 100%. Spinal tap that image. Don't. Because if you spinal tap something, it will never end up right. You saw that from The Drummer. If you don't know the movie, you should watch that movie. Shame on you. Okay, so now we have tonal contrast in, before and after. I actually like it on her skin tone, so it can stay. Normally I take it out of her skin tone. It just gives it a little bit of an extra push. Okay, so do a layer flatten image. Now I want to make that hair pump out just a little bit more saturation. Okay, so now of course you can do two things. You can go into your dodge tool and go to the sponge tool, where you actually have a saturate option. So I can now saturate the blues more. And there you go. This is my preferred way of working. Let's go back. Okay. Layer flatten image. Let me show you the different results. So first we're going to use the sponge tool on a layer with the saturate. Okay, that looks nice. Let's create another duplicate layer. And let's take that one out. And now we're going to use the saturation option. Adjustment, hue and saturation. And what I'm now going to do is I'm actually going to select a color range. So I'm going to go here to blues. And it's not really blues, but I'm just going to select something here. I'm just going to pump up the blues. Maybe give her green hair or magenta. Puka, how do you like your hair like that? Oh dear. Or do you like it more like that? You like everything. Okay, let's make it like this. So you can do a lot with this, but in all honesty, it takes over the whole image. So I don't really like that one. So let's take this one out. Oh, we have more options. So let's duplicate the layer. So this is still the one with the sponge tool, which is my favorite. Another one is actually taking a brush and going into your settings from normal, go to color. Select one of the colors and just paint that color over the hair. Now the cool thing is, if a hairdresser or Puka forgot to color her hair in certain areas, you're actually now taking care of that. So I'm now actually making her whole hair. So this is the one with the sponge tool. This is the one that I do here. So let's combine this with the sponge tool. You remember that we talked about removing gaps from hair. This is exactly what I'm doing now. Because there were also some color differences in her hair. Now don't tell your model. Because your model will go like, yeah, but Frank. I don't tell her. She doesn't know. She only goes like, he's a magician. My hair looked way better when I was photographed by him. Of course, the red's here a little bit. It's the nice thing about the sponge tool. Maybe a little bit more of the red of her lips. Okay, everything else looks nice. Okay, so this is only the sponge tool. And this is, there we go, better. Okay, layer flatten image. Discard hidden layers, yes. Now if you want a little bit more brightness over here, you can also do that. So let's go to fit on screen. And let's change the sponge tool back to the dodge tool. Don't do it on 100%, do it a little bit lower. And choose highlights. Now what you do, you actually just touch that area there and there. And only do the areas where you really want it to shine. And there you go. So now you have that really nice, almost like burning color. I love Puka's blue hair. Yeah, we love it even more now. And flatten your image. Now this is my thing. I always flatten my images. And for the final look, I always use Alien Skin Exposure 2 or DxO Film Pack, one of the two. They're all great. So I have a lot of presets here, and if you are interested in the presets, make sure you go to this part of our website, because over there you can buy all those presets, and they're like €7, or no, €10, I believe. You get a lot of those presets for €10. Now I do have to be honest, don't use the presets as your final look. Always use the presets as something to start from. It's just easier to start with presets that you like, and then build from there. Look at this. This was before, this is with the preset. Now you see the preset doesn't change a lot, but you see how this starts to shine. Like this is okay, boom, there you go. This is absolutely great. And this is Chinese horror with slight noise. Now I don't want noise in there, so go down and I actually will remove the grain. So now no more noise. Now I want a little bit more openness, so I go to the tone curve. And, ooh, that's too much. Let's lower that down. Now always remember, when you change the brightness of a color, you change its saturation. There we go. Okay, now because I have more images like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to store this preset. I'm actually going to rename it Chinese Horror. Number 6 probably. I don't know where I am, so just call it 6. And press OK. Now I know that the next time I'm going to do an image from this set, I'm going to use number 6. And normally, of course, you retouch all the images after each other. So you don't have the problem that I have now. There we go. Love it. Okay, zoom in because there's something in her nose I don't like. You see this shadow? It looks like she has a bump in her nose. So let's fix that with the healing brush. And just fix it here a little bit. There we go. Much better. Don't overdo it. We don't want Barbie dolls. We want real models. Although we still think that Puka isn't real. Because he's so perfect. Always be nice to your models. Don't overdo it. That was way over the top. Because now Nadine is actually feeling left out. She's great too. There we go. Fit on screen. Now I do like it a little bit tighter on top. Okay. Could have done keep aspect ratio, but I was too late. Okay, file, close, and we're done with this shot. Not gonna do another shot, don't worry. And let's go back to our regular program. In other words, let's go back to a shoot. But first, let me see if there are any questions. Enoik, you have a question.
Which tools are you using for photo editing? I think this guy just tuned in. He didn't see it.
Okay, which tools am I using for photo editing? The raw files are all handled by Capture One. Now, I use Lightroom a lot, and Lightroom is where my images live. That's where all my images stay. It's where my images are kept. It's where I use my smart folders. It's where I use everything. But in Capture One, I use the raw conversion. So that's part one. The reason for Capture One is very simple. You zoom in and it's immediately there. You see immediately if a shot is in focus or not. You have the focus overlay mask. When I shoot medium format and I shoot the tilt and shift lens or manual focus lens, I can see from the other side of the studio if something is in focus by using the focus overlay mask. Let me show you very quickly. Let me go to my main screen because I already showed this before, but let's do it again. So if I want to make sure that this shot is great, I go to show focus mask, and everything that's green is actually probably in focus. It's not perfect, but it comes a long, long way. The other thing that I use to retouch is actually, of course, the whole Adobe suite. So we use Adobe Photoshop, we use Adobe Lightroom, and we use a lot of plugins. Now, my main favorite plugins are, what's this? Alien Skin Exposure 2, DxO Film Pack. Those two I use for tinting. So getting my images the look that I want. I use Nik only for tonal contrast. And if you're on a Mac, make sure to check out Mac Fun Intensify. It's way better. And from Topaz, I actually use their whole suite. The cool thing about Topaz, and it's really sweet about Topaz, is that you have a lot of software that's relatively cheap. And hey, I'm Dutch. And it has great, great options. Like you have Clean 3, which next to Imagenomic Portraiture for the skin is way cheaper, but it works almost the same. You have only a little bit more work. And you have all this stuff like Simplify, Detail, that does a little bit the same like Make Fun Intensify, but different. So Topaz, without a doubt, get it. And Alien Skin, of course, get it too, because those two are my main focus hub. So they're really, really good. Let me see if we have any other questions. May I ask Frank about the new Iconic 858D Lightmaster? Why ESO shutter speed is only limited to full stop? It isn't. I don't know where you get that, but you can put it on 1/3 of an f-stop and even half an f-stops. RTFM, my buddy. Read the manual. In the manual, you can actually see that you can change it. Actually, my meter didn't even come with a manual. And let me see if I can find it really fast. Can you give me the 858? I'm going to show you. That is the 758. The other one.
Newer?
Yeah, the one with the big display. We have way too many light meters over here. It's like I collect them. Okay, so let me go here into the menu. Let me see. I hope you can see this. Let me first go through there. So you go into your menu. And go to custom settings. Custom settings. And there you have 1/10 of an f-stop. And you can change that to 1/3 or half or whatever. So display increments. You can do that off. You can change your flash duration. You can do whatever you want with the meter. So it's not really set for what you said, only full stops. You can actually put it on everything you want. So if you look now here, I've set it up. I can actually change my ISO. This is really difficult. I can change my ISO in little steps. I don't know if you can see that. So you can now see 125th, so that's not limited. And the same goes for my shutter speed. The shutter speed, by the way, I have set on full. But as you can see here, the meter there is actually showing f8.09. And you can also put it on f9, f10, so that's third increments. So you can change the meter, just dive into the menu, and at one point you will actually find it. So let me see if I can find it faster for you, because there's another way which you can set it. And again, I don't even have a manual with this one, because the manual wasn't ready yet, believe it or not. So, increments of T and F, that's the one you have to find. There you go. I hope this helps. So I have it set on 1 step, but you can set it on everything you want. Now, the half steps are very important for the old lenses, and the 1/3 steps are, of course, important for the newer lenses. So you go to increments of T and F, that's in the custom menu. It's actually the 3rd down, and there you can set everything up the way you want it. I hope that helps. Okay, so we're going to set up for the next set, and before we do that, I'm going to show you something that's very dear to me. I'm going to show you a video we created for the use of the light meter. And if you saw it before, I'm very sorry, but we have to set everything up, so that means we have to have a little break. Let me see where it is. Oh my, they removed it. No, found it. There you go. See you in a minute. Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof and I'm the author of the book Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, you guys really like the book because we're getting a lot of rave reviews on Amazon and every other online store. So that actually triggered us to make a video series about the book. Now, in the first video, I will tell you everything about the light meter. Now, in digital photography, I think the light meter is the one thing that confuses people a lot. Shouldn't I use the histogram, Frank? Isn't there a meter inside the camera? Where do I point the meter? Towards the pretty girl? Towards the camera? Towards the light source? Where? There's a lot of confusion out there. Now, in this video, I will give you in more than 70 minutes all the insights out about the light meter. Calibrating, using incident and reflective, using a white background, how to keep details in the black, how to trigger the meter, where to point the meter. You will see everything very easily explained, but you will also see photo shoots including our model Manon. This is one of the videos if you're slightly interested in the light meter, or if you already have a light meter and you want to know everything about it, get this video. It's called Mastering the Model Shoot, the light meter, and it's the first video in a whole series that we're going to release in connection to our book Mastering the Model Shoot, and it's available now from our website. Great shot. Hey guys, I'm Frank Doorhof. I'm the writer of the best-selling book Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, during my workshops, I get a lot of questions about people. What about raw developing? How to set my camera? Do I need Adobe RGB? Do I need sRGB? There are many questions out there. And the best thing to start with is use Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop. That's where you start. But after that, if you want a little bit more quality, if you shoot a lot of tethered setups, Capture One is actually one of the best programs out there. It isn't the best in library modes. It isn't the best in map modes. That's where we still use Lightroom. But Capture One is an awesome RAW developer. Now, what is a RAW developer and why is it important? Think about the old days when we had film. The choice of chemicals and the choice of film made a huge difference. The same film developed in different chemicals gave you totally different end result. The model was still the model, the landscape was still the same landscape, but you get more definition from one chemical. Or you get a little bit more detail or a little bit different colors. Also depending on the process. And that actually is the same thing for the new digital sensors. A digital sensor records a raw image. There's no color space attached to a raw image. It's the raw image. You have to attach a color space yourself. This is also one of the most heard problems during, for example, social media stuff. How do I set my camera? If you shoot JPEG, choose sRGB or Adobe RGB. If you shoot RAW, it doesn't matter because the RAW file is the RAW file. There's no color profile attached. That's what you do in your RAW converter as soon as you go to JPEG or TIFF. And most workflows, of course, will be TIFF 16 bits because then you have a lot of stuff to work with. And then you can use the bigger color spaces. But hey, I'm getting way ahead of this stuff. I don't want to teach you too much because this is a promo for a new video I created. Now, next to Lightroom, one of the most famous and best known RAW developers is, of course, Capture One. And Capture One has had a turbulent experience for me. It started when I shot medium format, I needed Capture One. And now when I shoot Sony and even when I shot Canon, I quickly found out that the raw developing of Capture One was awesome. But a lot of people have a lot of questions about how does it work. With Lightroom I know how everything works, but how does it work in Capture One? And that's why we created this video for you guys. It's a total walkthrough about how I set up Capture One to work with Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop because those are still my main programs. Capture One is used for raw developing and it does such an amazing job at that. So, check out the video on Capture One raw developing workflow from me, Frank Doorhof. And I'm sure if you have any questions about Capture One, they will be answered in that video. Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof and I'm the author of the book Mastering the Model Shoot. Okay guys, don't know what's going on there, but that was not supposed to happen like that. Okay, so we set up everything for the next shot. And the next shot is gonna be a small octa. So let's walk into the set and see if everything still works. Annelie, can you turn this one back to my camera? You don't know how that works. Okay, I will do it. So let's switch that back to camera mode. There we go. Now I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so for this next setup, we're actually going to use a D-Light. It's a very cheap, it's not very cheap, but it's the cheapest Allingram strobe. And this 70 centimeter octa. The cool thing about this 70 centimeter octa is actually that it's 70 centimeters. But it folds up really easily. So if you have a photo shoot on location, you can bring it very easily in your bag. Now officially, there's not really a grid for it. But the guys from Honeycomb Grids actually created one. So now we have a grid for it. And I want to show you some tricks that you can do with lights like this. Because a lot of people will light their models in the conventional way, 45 degree and etc. We don't want that. We want something cool. So, Angel, come in. I don't know where we stored the alcohol yesterday. She's not a minor anymore, so she can drink. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's turn it on. Aim it all the way up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create light from the top down. So I'm gonna switch this. There we go. That looks really nice. Okay. Have to grab the light meter to make sure that we know how to set it up. And meter the light. .63. So 5.63 means 5.6 and 1 click up. Just leave it at that. So we're gonna grab the camera. Where is the camera? Over here. I'm gonna go to 5.6 on the camera. And you can actually see that now in the screen. And can you put the split screen on? It's going to go to 5.6. You can see it changing in the screen. So I'm now at 5.6. And I go 1 click up, so that's 6.3. Very nice. Look into the light. And center your eyes. Okay, the first one never works because I didn't turn on my skyport. And somehow the strobes aren't that intelligent. Okay, now it did fire. So I get this really dark light on my model. Dark light. Isn't that a great expression? I do have the refrigerator. No. How do you call it? The radiator in the screen. So I don't want the radiator in the screen. What I really like is that the radiator goes away. And that's all about choosing your angles. But I also want a little bit more light on the background, because the background is now, it's a very painterly light quality, but the background is a little bit dark. So let's just change the angle slightly. I don't even have to re-meter. I do need my chair. Can you grab that very quickly? So I don't have to re-meter. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm just going to shoot. I don't know what's going on. There we go. And now you can see that we have a lot more light on the background. But it's okay, but that's radiator. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down on the floor. I'm going to go a little bit closer to my model. And now you will see that the radiator is absolutely no problem anymore. Nice. I love it. That's awesome. Okay, chin down just a little bit. Center your eyes. Why do I say center your eyes? Because I want to make sure that I don't get that Walking Dead look. Like all eye wide. Nice. Arms down. That's really cool. Now, of course, we can also move around our model, because that's always interesting. So let's move here. And create a little bit more contrast. Because we're now actually shooting into the light. I love her face like this, so let's do a close-up. Ooh, that's really cool. Nice. And move around again. That's really awesome. Chin up. There we go. Puka. That's it. Go, girl. Absolutely stunning. Oh, by the way, Puka is actually doing great. But if you have a model that isn't doing so great and that's actually failing, and you go like, oh my, what should I do? Tell her she's doing great, even if she's not. Tell her you're doing fine, you're doing great, it's awesome, great, go on, go on. Because if you do that, people will actually start performing better. And Anouk, what do you mean by those gestures? I have to agree with Anouk that she teaches me the gestures before. Sometimes behind the computer I see this, and I don't know what she means, and then I see this, and I go like, is there a question? No, 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 she just moves. She moves like Jagger. I don't know what's going on. So Anouk, is there a question?
There's a question now.
Oh,
if we don't
what
have
is the movement that Anouk does?
If we don't have a grid for the deep octa, how can we be shooting like you?
Get a grip for the deep octa and you can be shooting like me. Now, if you don't have a grid for the deep octa, You can also do the same thing with, for example, a beauty dish and a grid, or a reflector and a grid. It just, you have to make sure that that beam is narrow. By the way, that paint relight, let me see if we can set it up really fast. Do we have it close by? The little square? Yeah, over there. And we can use, Daisy, can you get that BRX 500 with the little square, the very cheap, yeah, that one. So we're going to show you that in a moment. So first we're going to finish these shots.
There's another question.
Oh, there's another question, okay. Yeah, just ask. And we can ask the question if you want.
The question is, blah, blah, blah. How do you prevent your tripod from falling over?
The tripod from falling over. Which tripod?
When you have a boom arm or a more heavy diffuser like a beauty dish or octa, how do you prevent your tripod from falling over?
Weights. Use weights. If you use weights on your tripod, or it's not really tripod, it's studio stand. If you use weights on it or sandbags, it won't fall over. So, or you use your intern. So you just put your intern on the other side and make sure there's a counterweight. So that's very easy. But with the boom arms, you have to make sure that it doesn't trip over. Okay, so another thing, let's do something a little bit more daring. Let's go really down on the floor. Let's use the swivel screen for this. And let's just get the light in. Let's make it a little bit more different. Okay, can you throw your hair up? 1, 2, 3, go. And do it again. 1, 2, 3, go. Nice. Final one. 1, 2, 3, go. And the final one. 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, that was my mistake. 1, 2, 3, go. And look straight into the light while doing that. For the really final one. 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, that was so good. We do it again. 1, 2, 3, go. And the final one. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, one more. Look straight into the light. 1, 2, 3, go. Awesome. Now you see that there are a lot of final ones with me. And at one point the model doesn't believe you anymore, by the way. But that final one is just to push that model even further. Okay, one more. And that will really push them forward. Okay, so you wanted to know if we can do the same paint relight with something that doesn't have a diffuse or doesn't have a grid. You can. So let's remove this one. Make sure you don't hit your model, unless you don't like them. And then always tell them it's an accident. Or interns. Yeah. So let's move this one in. So this is a square, and this is the cheapest one they actually once had. It was the, what's it actually called? A prolinca. So let's turn it on. Now, the trick is, if you don't have that grid, you have to feather the light. Now, what is feathering light? It means using the sides of the light, making it just kiss your model from the side. And that way you can mimic a grid. It's not really a grid, but you mimic it. So let's feather this. So first make sure it goes up. Enough. There we go. Let's feather it away from our model. Aim it down just a little bit. And there we go. Now this will be a different look, but it's similar-ish. I find so many new words in one episode. Words that don't even exist. My son is at school and he comes home with a B for English. And he says, I told him, shimrishish. Because my dad said it, and my dad is a photographer, and he does all this stuff in English, so he knows. And he doesn't know that I actually made those words up. He's 18 now he knows. Okay. 8.09, so let's go up 1/10. Okay, now it doesn't work. One moment, guys. Got a lot of problems with ambient light. Okay. There we go. I had the meter on the wrong setting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just a little bit more. Because we're feathering, I'm losing a lot of light, so I have to put it on almost full power. And I have to make sure that I meter at the right side, because if I meter in front of the model, like here, the light will hit it way harder than here, because we're actually using that side of the light. So if you look at light like this, and the light is very strong in the middle, it will fall down to the side. So F11, F8, 5.6, F4. So if my model is here, she will get F11. But my model is actually over there. So when I want my model to be correctly lit, it's F4. But if I meter here, it could be F8, F10. So that's a real big problem. So you have to make sure that you meter this correctly. So I'm now at F11. Okay? And again, this will be a different image, but it will give you that same painterly look. Okay. Let's go to F11 first. So the background will get way more light. But on the face of the model, you can see that same nice light fall off. Now if you go like, I really don't want that light on the background, I'm going to show you that you can also do it without. By just changing the light even more. So I'm now feathering even more away. So let's do this. So now as you can see, the hotspot is actually hitting here. And my model is hit by this. And the background is hit by even less. So let's grab the meter again. Okay, there we go. 8.05. Let's move it even further away. 8.01. It's almost a full stop less. Remember where I left it. F8. Okay, there we go. So even without the grid, I think I'm now pretty close to the other one. And again, it will be different. But especially when you now start moving around your model, you get that really nice side lighting. Okay, can you move the hair again? 1, 2, 3, go. Nice. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. That's absolutely stunning, Puka. 1, 2, 3, go. And the final one. And this is really the final one. 1, 2, 3, go. And because you did so great, one more. 1, 2, 3, go. Nice. And you see that little bit of motion just changes the whole look. Now, of course, I used a different modifier. I should use a new color checker. Well, actually, you don't need a new color checker. You can use the same, but you should a new color checker. Now let's open that up. And there we go. Aim it straight at the light. And now you have to shoot it as flat as possible. So I'm going to shoot it from here. Make a funny face. There we go. Awesomeness. Okay, let's do a little bit more. Can you stand exactly against the wall? Like really against it. That's about it. Oh, you have the wings. Yep. Let's show the guys what light fall off does. So I'm going to change my light. I'm going to literally move it really close to the model.
I can take them off though.
Oh, take them off if you want. Don't worry, it's not going to be a glamour shoot. That's the only thing. Hopla. They can fly. Okay, let's move the light really close to the wall. And also the model. Okay, this is why we love booms. And this looks like a really weird light setup. Oops. Make sure you don't hit your model, Frank. There we go.
I have some questions.
Okay, first let me do this,
Of course.
because I don't trust this. Don't worry, it's okay. You remember yesterday when it fell on top of the model? No, it's okay, don't worry. No, don't worry, it's okay. We know we like you. I'm not standing too close to you, by the way, at the moment, so. But don't worry, it will be okay. 11.8. Okay, so let's go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the cool thing. You can do it from your light meter now. 11.0. Great. Okay. And use a low angle again. I'm going to go to f8. Okay, look that way. It's really nice. Chin up just a little bit. Make it real sensual, like you're really just under a shower. You have that really warm feeling. That's nice, that's what I mean, yes. Absolutely gorgeous. Keep your chin up. Okay, let's try a little bit of a lower angle. That's really nice. Awesome. So now I'm actually using the distortion of the wide angle to create like a really majestic look. She's a little bit hot on her head. So let's just lower my, open up, close down my aperture. There we go. At once, one time I will find the correct expression. Just try hard enough. Nice. Absolutely love this. And give your model confidence by saying, I absolutely love this, even if you don't. I love this, but let's say that you don't. Just keep telling her, awesome, great, love it. And then delete the images very quickly before she sees them. And only keep the ones that are really great. Okay, so let's try a few from the top down. Okay, I'm going to use the swivel screen again. Look up. It's really nice. Big eyes. Yes, there we go. Look straight into the light. So no shadows. More. Perfect. Great. Keep it that way. That's nice. Absolutely stunning. You see, whichever angle I do, she looks great. It's ridiculous. I hate you. I can't take a bad picture. Okay, so a few guys actually asked me last time, why do I use this? It's a very funny story, which actually isn't funny. This is a Tether Tools cable. We absolutely love Tether Tools because they're orange and I'm Dutch. The reason you see those images so fast, they're 42 megapixel files, they're really huge files. It's because I'm using a cable. One of the main advantages of a cable is fast and quick getting your images to your computer. One of the disadvantages is these ports are really, really sensitive. So if you by accident yank on your cable, it's a €600 repair, but even worse, you lose your camera for 2 or 3 weeks. So that's why we use something called jerk stoppers. Now on this camera, there's a system from Sony, and this is the only camera from Sony that has this. So it's like a block. I will come a little bit closer. It's a block that actually connects the cable to my camera, and you can close it down. But normally we use jerk stoppers. The problem is, if I pull on this really hard, and normally I hold the camera like this, I won't drop the camera. Now that's normally when somebody would stand on my cable and go like this. Go like, hey, I feel some tension. Okay, done. Can you please get off my cable? Sorry, right? They're orange. Now, a few weeks ago, I was actually sitting down, and maybe you can zoom in what happened. I was talking to an attendee of the workshop, And by accident, I had my foot like this. And I was done, and I actually came up. And because I was going up, and the camera wanted to go down, the camera won. So the camera fell on the floor. I destroyed my lens. I destroyed my cable. I destroyed my side of the camera. So my camera was broken. The weird thing is, everything still worked except the USB port. So these are really sturdy cameras. So we got it repaired from Sony. And one thing I learned, if you yank hard enough, your camera will fall because there's no breaking point here. So that's why I'm now using this little wrist strap. Now what I did is I used one from, what's the name? Optech USA. And this one is elastic. So that means that if something happens, I feel it going. So I can literally respond. So make sure that if you shoot tethered, you have something like this also, because jerk stoppers are great, but the gravity and power will win from your jerk stopper. Okay, so let's go to the computer and let's see if we can do some funky stuff with this. Because I want to do something special, of course, because the normal retouching is a little bit boring.
And the questions?
And we have to do the questions, of course. Oh, before that, if you're in the neighborhood of New York, make sure you check out our workshop there, which we're going to do with Nadine very soon. And let me switch to my camera. Because we're going to do a workshop with Nadine there, and it's going to be on April 30th in New Jersey. But if you are in Orlando just before, make sure you check out this.
I've been here 4 times. I continue to learn new and fabulous things about photography and Photoshop and Lightroom.
If you come here with one thing on your mind, you're probably going to end up leaving with interest in other areas.
You want to stay in the know and stay on the cutting edge. This is the place to do it.
Anyone that has a passion for creative things, photography, design, they attend Photoshop World.
Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof, and I want to tell you today about the new 27-inch monitor from BenQ. Now, I'm a fashion photographer, and I like my colors to be as they are in real life. Because I do my best to light my scene correctly, to style the scene, to have great makeup, great model. And then I see my images on a monitor and they look like, well, very dull. Well, that can happen to you too, and it will probably happen to you. You know the problem? Your monitor is not up to spec. Now, a monitor isn't a monitor. It's not something that just shows you the image. There are many different kinds of monitors. Like TV sets, your very expensive ones will give you better image quality, right? Now, with computer monitors, we always tell people it's all about the color space. For example, you have an sRGB monitor, or for the professionals, an Adobe RGB monitor. But if you don't know what that means, it doesn't make any sense. Now, let me make it simple. These are the colors in real life. So this is what you capture, right? It's great, it's vibrant, it's saturated, it's real life. Now, an sRGB monitor, it's a really small color space. And that's okay for the web or for a laptop or just simply browsing your images. But if you want those more vibrant colors, you need something a little bit bigger. And that's an Adobe RGB color space. It's just a bigger color space. But it also means that the monitor has to show those colors. Now, in the past, those monitors were pretty expensive, especially a 27-inch. And BenQ really made me enthusiastic about this monitor because it's very affordable. It's delivered with a hood. So, in other words, it will cut down on your glare. And it's, well, I can give you all the bells and whistles about it. Like, it has all the inputs you need. It has all the specs. It's 99% Adobe RGB. But in the end, it all boils down to one thing. Image quality. And I'm very picky, and as you can see, it's my main editing monitor at the moment. So I'm very enthusiastic about the monitor. If you are looking for a great monitor and you want something in the 27-inch, and you don't want to spend a whole lot of money on it, check out the new BenQ 27-inch. And for me, the most important thing is that it has a hardware calibration option, meaning you use their own software and you use a calibrator. And you can really make sure that the reds are as red as they are intended. Now, I know a lot of monitors come with this sheet, like I'm calibrated in the factory. That's great, but it doesn't make any sense because your computer is different. So you have to recalibrate. Now, when do you recalibrate? I always recalibrate before a very important retouch session. For example, if I have to do a wedding or a fashion shoot, I will just let my monitor warm up for half an hour or an hour, do the calibration, and then I do my retouching. That way, I know for sure that my colors are accurate. So BenQ, job well done. I'm very, very happy with the monitor. And you guys, if you're in the market for a new monitor, check out the new BenQ series, because they're really knocking one out of the ballpark with this series. Okay, and we're back. Hey guys. We always need a little bit of break because I need something to drink, so you hear my voice is now better for probably the next 5 seconds, and then it will break down again. But hey, I'm so sorry for that, but you know what? Just continue. Okay, we had some questions. Let me scroll up very quickly that I don't miss anything. Slutko actually found the settings. Awesome. And the question, okay, at the market there are cheap dishes and expensive ones. Is there a visible difference? I think you mean beauty dishes, and yes, there is a visual difference. If the difference is huge, I don't know. You know, I work with everything. Like sometimes when we're at trade shows, we are forced to use a certain brand. Like if you saw me at Photo Days in Belgium, you saw me shooting Profoto because I was at the Sony booth. And Sony and Profoto have this collaboration, so shooting Profoto. At the trade show in the Netherlands, Professional Imaging, you saw me shooting Profoto because they were the sponsor of the main stage and Ellingram wasn't there. So in the end, it's all lighting and it's all light. And I think a lot of people are obsessed by, I have to have this brand because, oh my God, if I don't have that brand, I can't shoot it. Or if I don't have this beauty dish or this expensive one, or if I don't have that grid that's made by elves with dragon blood, it won't work. Just forget about it. You need control of your lighting. You need to understand what lighting does. And if you understand what lighting does, you can use whatever you want. You can, in all essence, sorry, I'm not checking my email. You can light your model with just a simple iPhone. Look at this. So now I'm backlit. Ooh. So now I have this really cool lens flare. You see this? So I'm going to make it interesting. I'm going to come closer and I'm going to do this. You know what? I'm just going to turn off my main lights. So let's do this. Let's turn this one off. So now I'm in the dark. You see, I'm in the dark, but now I'm going to use my iPhone. And I can create a really nice, almost Rembrandt light lighting, like backlighting. Or I can do this and get that really creepy look. It's really difficult because I see everything in, how do you call it? In mirror mode. So I can do this. We have that really nice, almost eternal look. So whatever lighting you do, you can do it with your iPhone. You can do it with a simple Lume Cube or LED panels. So if you can do it already with an iPhone or a Lume Cube, you will understand that it doesn't matter if a beauty dish is expensive or cheap. Just get the one that you can afford. But most importantly, and this is important, get the size that you want. So if a big one is 200 euros and a smaller one is 40 euros, the bigger one, of course, is a better quality. But for me personally, I don't want a bigger one. I want a smaller one. So I would actually opt for the one for 40 euros because that's the size that I want. Now, if the smaller one is 100 euros and the bigger one is 50 euros, I will still go for the smaller one because that smallness, that size will determine the look. And the look, that's what I'm after. I want that certain look in my images, so that's a smaller beauty dish. But don't look at price. It's, you know, the strobes. I have the ELCs, I have D-lights, and I have photics. And they're all in a different price range. In the end, the only difference you will really see is after 5 or 6 years traveling the world with them, getting them in and out of suitcases, dropping them sometimes. I'm so sorry, but sometimes it happens. And then after 5 years, the ELCs will probably look better than the D-light, or the D-light would have died. But for one for one ELC, I can actually buy 3 D-lights. So you see that it's only light. And of course, the ELCs recycle faster. They are faster with freezing motion. But in essence, light is light. So just use whatever you need. Sorry, I went a little bit overboard. Let me see, we have another question. I'm using 2 of the D-Light RX4s. Is there a limit to the size of modifier you can use with the D-Light range? Yes, but check this with your dealer. I'm not working for Allengram. I'm just a user. And I know that with the mount, there's a certain limit. So you can't put, for example, the 1 meter octa with a Light Tools grid, because that will actually break the mount. On the other hand, I think that the new mounts are actually better than the older ones. So just check it with your dealer, because I'm not sure, but I don't want to say something to you that in the end doesn't appear to be right. Let me see. Harlot Killen. Wouldn't the clothes come out more if you used a reflector to fill in the shadows? Yes and no. Yes, of course. But no, I don't want to. Because I want that darkness in my shot. And if I want to open it up, I can use a reflector, I can use a strobe from the bottom. But I want that darkness. I really like that. I'm going to show you now in a moment what I mean with that. So let me switch back to my full screen. There we go. So sorry for the coughing, guys. But it was this or stay in bed. And you know what? I just love this. Okay, so let's go back to the start. To the images with her cloning. Okay. So as you can see, there's still a lot of detail here. I don't want more detail. And if I want more detail, I can always choose in Capture One to just say, okay, just open this up a little bit. Now, the cool thing about Capture One is I don't need to do it with shadows, what I can actually do. And you can do that same in Lightroom with the adjustment brush. So you can go here, create a new layer, go to your brush, and now what I can actually do, and this is only if you want to, I don't. So I choose to make this a little bit more darker. And there you go. Again, this is if you want to. I don't. So let me remove this one. Okay, cool. So let's see which images I like the best. So I like this one. But I think there are better ones. This one is really cool. This one is a little bit too dark. Strobe didn't fire. No. That one is absolutely stunning. This one is a little bit too dark in the face. A little bit too sad. No. 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 I just don't like the poses there that much. This is a little bit too dark, like this one. Ooh, love the close-up. This one is actually pretty cool. I really love this one, but I don't like the fingers. It's a little bit too much. It's okay. Too dark in the eyes. Too round in her face. This one I really like. But I know that the motion images are coming in, and I love those more. So I'm actually a little bit more rough on these. Also like this with the strobe in the back. You can actually see now what the grid is doing. You see this? This is dark and this is light. So this is actually what the grid does. It steers the light to the model. Oh, this one is awesome. Okay, this was with the more softer softbox. So with the more, the smaller one, the Prolinca. And then as soon as I started moving lower, I got way better images. So I like this one. And you can actually see that here it opens up the clothing a little bit more. And that's because the light isn't steered that much as with the other one. Okay, this is too much Walking Dead eyes here too. This is better. Ooh, love the motion here. Really nice. This is too much. Here you can see 2 eyes. That's better. Don't like the arm per se. This is okay. But they're boring. And as soon as I took that lower angle, that's when it really clicked for me. Look at this. And then especially this. You see the difference? Like here, it's a little bit like, okay, we're getting somewhere, but we don't know yet. Here you go, like, okay, we're getting it. And now here, because he's also leaning a little bit more forward, you get a way better shot. Okay, love this one. I really like this with the motion. I always have something with motion. I love it when something is in motion or a sense of motion. It's just something that I really like. Love this one. It's gonna be late today because I have to retouch all these after the show. I like this one somehow. This one is also pretty cool. No. It's okay. Okay. So let's go back. So go back to the images. Now when I look back at it, I don't like this one because the arm is a little bit too... I still like this one. But when I do the shots, I prefer to go for the slightly lighter one. Not because of the clothes that's more open, because I have to make a series. And now that I see that I only like 2 images of the darker ones, I prefer to go then for the lighter series. So let me see. This one I don't like that much compared to the other one. This one is better. And I like the one with the motion. And this one is absolutely stunning. So let me retouch this one for you guys. And of course, first we have to do the proper color balance. Select the images. And copy and apply. And there we go. So I'm going to retouch this one for you. Now, as you can see here, something goes wrong. You see this is way too bluish. And I did do a proper color balance. And this one was shot with a D-light. And these were shot with a BRX. And the BRX, believe it or not, is slightly less blue than the D-light. And did I shoot a color checker with the D-light? No. So this is the reason, boys and girls, you always shoot color checkers. Because now I have a problem. Because I don't have a proper color balance for this shot. So let me just try something. Nope. Okay, this looks pretty okay. And now make sure you select all the images you shot with that modifier. No, that's the two with only these two. Copy and apply. I will tell you in a moment why. Did I really not shoot a color checker? That's dumb. Yep, that's pretty dumb. Hui. Okay, let me switch to the camera and tell you why that's so important to do what I just did. Okay, so I didn't shoot a color checker with the ones with the tight grid. I did shoot a color checker with the one with the prolinca. Now, those are different strobes. Now, normally in the Allengram system, all the strobes have a very constant light quality and a very constant color temperature, except the D-lights. The D-lights are a little bit too blue. And a little bit is about 600 degrees. And that's something that you really see in a shot. Now, because I didn't shoot a color checker, I can't get those images correct. What I can do is I can make one of them look okay or great or perfect. And I just copy that setting to all the other images that I shot with the D-light. The reason for this is simple. If one shot is incorrect and you correct it and you copy it to all the other shots, all those shots shot with that light setup will look exactly the same. Okay, I have to say bye to Puka. Oh, so all those shots will look exactly the same. In other words, if you mess up, make sure that you mess up the same way on all the shots, because then you didn't mess up, you just created a look. Okay, let me see. Johan, would you use the Tether Tools Case Air wireless tethering system in the studio, or is that only a better solution for outdoors? I will absolutely love to use the Case Air in the studio, same with the Camfi. We are testing the Camfi at the moment, which promises to be the first wireless tethering solution for Sony, which actually is a lie because Sony has its own built-in tethering solution. But they are right, because CamRanger doesn't do it, Case Air doesn't do it. Nobody does it except Camfi. The problem we're experiencing at the moment is it's stable, it works great. The problem is it transfers both the RAWs and the JPEGs. I want a solution that just transfers the JPEGs to the computer and leaves the RAWs on the card. And it's pretty fast, the Camfi, but it's still a 5 to 10 second wait for the raw files. The JPEGs are there like, boom, they're there. And that's the speed that I want. And I don't care about low resolution for the JPEGs. It's just that I can see what I'm doing, leave the RAWs on the card. So outside, yes. Inside, yes. I would do wireless everywhere if I had the chance. Let me see. Oh, I see messages retracted. I don't know why. Ineke, Frank, the aperture freezes the motion. Will this mean that I can photograph in stormy weather, for example, a flower at f8 and it still be sharp at 1/16th or 60th of a second? No. No, sorry. As soon as you have ambient light will interfere with your shot. And sometimes when something moves and you want to freeze it, you can actually see this. You see a frozen image, and then you see like a black, like an almost silhouette connected to that frozen image. That's the ambient light. So you will still see that moving around, because you can't freeze anything on 1/60th of a second or 1/160th of a second. If there's no ambient light, like in the studio, or so little ambient light that it will never register, then you will freeze it because you actually don't see the ambient light. Now, a test if freezing will work is very simple. Put your camera on 125th of a second, on, for example, f8 or f11, whatever your strobe can handle on full power. Shoot it, and if you see a totally black frame and there's nothing in the frame, that's when you will freeze action. If you can slightly see the background and you can slightly see the flower you want to shoot or the model, you will see that nasty dark shadow around the model. Now, some people will go like, okay, why not shoot high-speed sync? Now, high-speed sync, of course, works. High-speed sync pulsates on 50 Hertz. So that means that you actually get a lot of small strobes, and that will actually freeze the frame while the shutter curtain moves over the sensor. So you will get and it will actually show you like a one exposed image. The reason it won't work is because you will see some motion in the shot, because high-speed sync gets you a really high shutter speed, but it's still a pulse. But it's very doable. It's very good. Now, high sync, that's another thing. And that can actually work very well. With high sync, that's, for example, what Profoto uses and Ellingram and some other brands. You actually break the 125th rule by using a really, really slow strobe, like 1/600th of a second in flash duration. Now, when you take a shot, it will actually stay on long. So as long as you stay within 1/600th of a second, it will actually register, and then it will drop off and you will lose power. Now, a lot of people who shoot HS, or in other words, hypersync or high sync, they will actually shoot on 1/1000th of a second. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, because at 1/1000th of a second, you don't use the full 1/600th of a second from the strobe. So you're actually cutting it off. So if I need this for f11 and I cut it off here, I will end up with f8. Now, if I go to 1/2000th of a second, I'm actually cutting it off here. So I'm ending up with f4. If I go even higher, I cut it off. You get the meaning, right? So it could very well be, if you use an HS system on full power and you shoot it on 125th of a second, you're actually freezing the motion by, let's say, f16. But you don't freeze it because, ambient light. Now, f16, ISO 100. Now you go with your shutter speed, let's say, to 1/4000th of a second. It might very well be that you end up on ISO 400, f2.8. And the strobe is still on the same distance, on the same power setting. But because you lose so much power by cutting that shutter speed, you're actually, let me put it this way, it's complicated. Let me see if we have any other questions. Yes. Yeah, the Case Air, by the way, is only for Canon and Nikon at the moment, and I'm a Sony shooter, so that doesn't work. Okay, Anouk, you have a question from Facebook.
Where exactly do you point the light meter? Cheeks, nose, eyes?
Okay, where exactly do you point the light meter? Okay, Anouk, can you give me a light meter? Now, this is where a lot of people go wrong. And actually, when you explain it to people, I always did it the easy way, and I stopped doing it because a lot of people started going like, yeah, but Frank tells you like, and I always go like, I didn't tell you that it should be done that way in the studio. So I stopped doing the explanation like I'm gonna do now. So first, the simple explanation. Always point towards the light source in your studio. So in the studio, always point towards the light source. Why towards the light source? Very simple. you aim the light source at the area you want correctly lit. So if I want my side light here, it makes sense to meter towards the light source. So in the studio, 99% of the cases you aim towards the light source. In essence, that's not true, of course, because it's an incident meter reading. So it means it meters the light hitting this area, and everything that's behind that area will be correctly lit or will be correctly exposed. We also call it the diffused value. So it doesn't matter if I have somebody behind the meter with a dark skin or a light skin. If this tells me F8 and I shoot it on F8, that dark person will be dark, that light person will be light, and it will be correct. So where do you point the meter? You don't point it anywhere. And that's the thing, it isn't a reflective meter, it's an incident meter. So it meters light falling on the meter. That's different from a reflective meter, which actually points somewhere. Okay, long story short. You hold it in front of the area you want correctly lit. So let's say, Anouie, can you stand behind me with my iPhone, please? Okay, so Anouie is behind me with my iPhone, and just imagine there's no other light source. Now, if I would point towards the light source, I would do this. Oh, sorry, I would do this. I would point towards my light source, I would get a meter reading of, let's say, F8, and now I take the shot, my face will be totally dark, and my backside will be okay lit. Is that what I want? No, it's not what I want, of course not. So what do I want? I want the front of my face to be correctly lit. Now in some books they will tell you always meter towards the camera. In this case, that means point towards the camera, because the camera is there. I want this part of my face to be correctly lit, so I will hold the light meter in front of my face, take a meter reading, and then I will set up the camera for that meter reading, meaning my face will be correctly lit by the light that scatters around from the sun. So the background will be pure white, probably if the sun is behind me. My hair will be totally blown out, and the front of my face will be correctly lit. So one could say, okay, always point towards the camera. Wrong. Now let's go to another scenario. I'm using a softbox from the side, and I want that really nice side light. So Anouie, can you turn that panel off? Okay. Yeah, turn all the panels off. No, not that panel. That's the only one you need on. So all the other panels in the studio, let's turn them off. Okay, so it's still too bright, but okay, let me just wing it. Okay, so I'm now in front of my, let's pick up the camera. I'm in front of my panel, and I look this way, and I want this side to be correctly lit, and that's where the panel is. But now I'm moving my camera that way, and as you can see, I hope you can see it, it's a bad example, you see, but now this side is correctly lit, and this side is pretty dark. So where do I point that camera? Where do I point my light meter? You have to determine which side do I want correctly lit. Now, of course, I want the side correctly lit that is hit by light. So I will meter that way. The camera is probably on that side. So I don't point towards the camera, I point towards the light source. Now let's say, okay, I don't want that. I want that front of his face correctly lit. This can be overblown, and this can be too low. Now you aim like this. So long story short, you don't aim anywhere. You just hold it in front of the area you want correctly lit. And this is why we got that video called the light meter. And you can get it here. Just get it. You know you want to. Okay, so that video actually explains everything about using the light meter. And in all essence, guys, it's a really simple device. It's incredibly simple to use. So don't overthink it. It's really easy. Okay, let me see if you have any more. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. There we go. Yes, Anouk, you have a question.
What do you calibrate your monitor with? I always have problems with calibrating to my Pro 100.
Okay, where do I calibrate my monitor with? I'm actually using the BenQ monitor. I'm using hardware calibration, so I'm using the X-Rite. And for my other monitors, I use the Color Monkey. That's a spectrometer, and the X-Rite is a tri-stimulus meter. And the X-Rite I'm using because that's a hardware calibration tool, so it dives straight into the monitor to make things simple. And the other one uses ICC profiling from your computer. Now, where do I set it on? Now, okay, let me give you that as an example. Anouk, do you have a paper for me with a pen? With a stift? Okay, Anouk is going to get it, and you're going to keep that from me. And let me see, somebody else asks. Let me see. Hey Frank, I'm making a profile using X-Rite Color Checker using Lightroom. Do I set the white balance on the image before I make my custom profile or after? That's a really good one. You set the color balance before you create a profile. In essence, it doesn't matter, but I do it. I'm like, call me OCD or whatever. So I really need that. So I put it on, then I create the profile, and then even after I run the profile, I do it again. And sometimes I see a difference and I go like, you see, probably it's just bad luck. But I always do it before and after. And let's be honest, it's one click. So what's the extra effort? So just do it. You know you want to. So okay, let me do very quickly. While Anouk is getting the pen, I'm going to write down for you guys where to set it up. Let me go really fast to something that I love to explain to people. I'm going to switch back to my computer. Okay. So when I look at an image like this, how much should I retouch to this? It's actually pretty okay. So the only thing I'm going to do is maybe add, I'm not going to take away, no, I'm not going to do that. Add a little bit of contrast maybe. That looks pretty good. Let's go into Photoshop. Okay. The only thing I have to take out is the arm. So go to your quick mask. Paint the arm. Make sure you do it nice and beefy that you get a lot of extra detail. Do select inverse and take it out with content aware fill. There you go. Now I don't like the softbox this much. It's a little bit, I don't know, I don't like the, I don't know what I don't like, but I just don't like it. So let's do a layer, new layer. And let's do this. Let's take a brush, take white paint, like really white, make it big, and just paint over the softbox. There you go. Okay, now blur this just a little bit. So you can just see the corners. There we go. Now duplicate that layer and then really blur it a lot. So go to blur, Gaussian blur, and just pull it all the way up. Now what you're going to do is you're going to lower the opacity on the top layer, and you're going to lower the opacity on the bottom layer. Go back to the top layer and just do this until you see what you like. So in my case, before, and I can choose between both or only this. And I can go back to this one. And maybe just add it a little bit like this. There we go. So really like this. Now the only thing I have to do with this image is just tint it. So sometimes you don't need a lot of going into Photoshop, retouching your image. Don't do retouching because you need to. Make sure that you shoot everything on the moment you shoot it, that it's okay, that you don't need to go into Photoshop and change everything. And the tinting, this is where I spend a lot of time. I just want to make sure that everything is picture perfect. Like this one I really like in black and white. I don't know, it just looks dramatic. I also like it a little bit more toned down. So let's go for a color version. I really like this. And see, it's just a slight change. And let's give it a little bit of a vignetting on the side. Notebook, where's the vignetting? There we go. Oops, other way. So let me see if I like that. Maybe a little bit too much. Place the center, for example, here. There we go. And before and after. It's a very, very slight change, but it just takes the edge of the light just a little bit. And now because it's so much softbox, I don't want to see that, to be honest. So let's flatten my image and let's just crop this and let's make it more filmic, like more like a 235:1. There we go. So this gives you that really nice extended look. Let's go into 100%. Do I like the windows over there? No, just take them out with the healing brush. And because we have really rough walls, that's one of the secrets of our studio. You don't see that we retouch. Because if you have even walls, you can retouch forever because it has to look even. And with our walls, they're already very rough and patchy. So if you just retouch it a little bit, it will look like it's part of the walls. And this is really something that we started with in the old studio and actually now did it also in the new studio. And that's really one of the real secrets of our studio. That's why I can retouch so fast, because I never have to make sure that my backgrounds are even or I don't see any spots on the background because it's already really bad. Not bad, you know what I mean, right? It's already a little bit messy. So if I just do something like this, I'm already fine. Oops. Okay, this is wrong. One moment, go back, go back, go back. Okay, that's better. Okay, and let's do a face just a little bit here. In the end, you still retouch, of course, but that's because I want to make sure that she looks fine. Okay, now I'm messing up. Sorry, guys. Let's go back very quickly. I have to do it with a smaller brush. Okay, there we go. And this is something that I don't like about the healing brush. Sometimes it creates this really nasty, I don't know what to call it, but it's almost black stuff. And when it does that, I will just sample here and just copy a little bit of the detail over. And there we go. And it's okay. Now take a healing brush, a clone tool, really low opacity, and just brush over it very quickly to even it all out. It's not perfect, but you know, when you zoom out, nobody will see it. Okay, now again, the colors. I want a little bit more color in there. So go to the sponge tool, go to saturate, go to really high saturation. There we go. Look at this, so it really starts to pop the blues. Even here. As you can hear, we're all sick. In the background you hear Anne coughing. Or she just wants attention, that's also possible, of course. And file close, and yes, and done. So you don't need a lot of time for that. Okay, let me show you how we set up our monitors. Okay, so one of the things that you always have to remember, this one won't write. And can you give me a marker? Oh, here's the marker. Okay, let me just write it down for you guys. So what we do is D65, sometimes also referred as a 6500, gamma 2.2, and light output 120 or 130 CDM. I know you don't see it, but now you will. So color temperature D6500 or D65, it's 6500 degrees Kelvin. The gamma 2.2 and the light output 120 to 130. Now some people will tell you 80 because that's how a print looks. And that's right. But if you do it on 80, you will make your prints, or sorry, your retouching way too contrasty because we're not used to such a low light output. So always use 120, 130. And let's be honest, most of the things that we publicize nowadays is for the internet. So make sure you do it that way. Okay, so when is the next digital classroom? April 12th. No, it is a digital classroom. April 12th. Now, I hear you going like, Frank, don't you do it once a month? Yes, but this is a very special one. This one is at 6 o'clock at night, and it's with Rosa, and it's especially for BenQ in the USA. And 10 May, so May 10th, we have an official digital classroom. So April 12th is a smaller digital classroom. I believe it's only 1 hour with the model.
No, it's 2.
Oh, it's also 2?
Yeah.
Oh my. I hope my voice is... Don't you just love her? No. All those people are watching. You can't do that.
I want to thank Daisy and Brian for helping us out today, because we really could have done it without them.
Yeah, they skipped
Thanks
school
again.
for it, so
Yeah,
that's
thanks
awesome.
again, guys. You're great.
Yeah. And we thank you very much for watching Digital Classroom. And now please, and I really mean please, subscribe to our YouTube channel, because the YouTube channel is very important for us, and I will tell you why. The more people subscribe to our YouTube channel, the more the companies are interested in us. And the companies make this stuff possible. If we don't have sponsors like BenQ and Rogue, we can never do these shows because we have to pay them out of our own pockets. And now actually we still pay them out of our own pockets, but BenQ and Rogue make sure that our pockets are a little bit more filled, so we can do a little bit more. The other thing that's really cool, if you say, okay, Frank, we want to help you more, is you can go to Patreon. Patreon is like an online tip bar. So you can spend $1 a month or $10 a month or $25, and that goes straight into the channel. Nothing that you donate goes into our own pockets. Everything we get from YouTube, Google AdSense, BenQ, Rogue, all our sponsors go straight into this stuff. Because, let me pick up the camera. When we started out, we had 1 camera. And we very quickly switched to 2. Now look at this. Thanks to our sponsors, we now have a whole almost TV setup. Let me zoom out a little bit. Oh, that's already zoomed out a lot. There we go. So now we have like a mixer from Roland. We have our audio in order. We have a monitor that we can see everything on. We have a lot of cables. And we are running Wirecast. So we really grew a lot in like half a year. And that's a lot of investments. And so help us out by just joining our YouTube channel. And that's free. So subscribe.
And for all our American friends, we hope to see you next week or the next 2 weeks on Photoshop World.
Photoshop World.
And after that, we're going to be in New York for
Yep.
our New Jersey workshop
We have
with Nadine.
Yes, we have a New Jersey workshop
Yeah.
with Nadine. That's going to be absolutely stunning.
We have a few seats left.
Yeah, we have 2 seats left, I believe, at the
2,
moment.
yeah, well, yeah.
So go to the website, and on the left side, you can actually see this. So I don't want to keep you guys any longer. I thank you so very much for watching. It was absolutely awesome. Thanks to T-Mobile for giving us a solid internet connection. No, T-Mobile is not a sponsor.
But we're getting fiber.
But we're getting fiber here in about 2 months, and then we can do a lot more online. We already do a lot online, but most of it, believe it or not, is uploaded via our mobile phones, because we don't have a big upload. Thank you so very much for watching, guys. Let me see if there are any more questions in. No, don't have any questions. Okay, guys, so thank you very much. We're now going to end the stream and tell other people about it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You know you want to. Bye, guys.